I'm so happy to see all of you here, and I'm seeing some of you showing up who haven't been here for a while. And just really, really happy to be together. It's been quite a time for me, for us here in New Mexico, as it has been for us all over the place, and also especially those in California who are dealing with fire. Linnea, I see you breathing through your mask, even indoors. I've got the doors open now because I'm just desperate for air, but it's very smoky here. We have a fire directly above us in the National Forest, probably about 2 miles from where we live. And so we've been living with that reality as well here. And we had the house we packed up to evacuate on Tuesday, so about a week ago. And we have not had to leave, but we've been living with that reality of the potential to have to leave and the closeness and the unpredictability of fire. And that on top of the pandemic and climate change and everything else that's going on in the world that feels like the end of days are upon us. Meanwhile, we have to remember the view, and that's an expression of the Dharma, to remember the big picture. And in order to do that, Hugh and I were talking this morning about what to talk about today. And we thought, well, impermanence is really the message and the assignment, to make friends with impermanence. I have a number of friends who have cancer. I'm sure you all have stories too of things going on in your personal lives, the ways in which we're having to face tremendous change and difficulties. And remembering the view, practicing in such a way as to come into the experience of a bigger picture than just the anxiety about what we're losing, in order to align with a new story, which we can all sense at the very same time as we are experiencing this tremendous loss. Cultivating an experience of non-attachment and letting go is critical, because the old story is dying. And we might as well get with the program. So, compassion, of course, for the loss, but also awareness of the opportunity that we're in as much as possible. So Thich Nhat Hanh wrote a gatha that I have here on this little piece of wood that I got at Plum Village the very first time I went there, which was in about 1985. And I absolutely love it. And it says this: exquisite the rose on her way to compost, fertile the compost on its way to rose. Wheeling my barrow of dung, impermanence greets me in beauty. We actually organized a retreat for Thich Nhat Hanh at the Ojai Foundation back in the 80s. And because of that, we were making a flower arrangement every day in the center of the circle next to where Thich Nhat Hanh was sitting. And one day we gathered compost and made an arrangement with eggshells and orange peels and dirt and all the rest. And out of that arose. And it was perfect. It was a great moment. But flowers, you know, they decompose. But that doesn't prevent us from loving flowers. In fact, we love them more because we know they're not going to last. So Thich Nhat Hanh talks about that change is because things change because causes and conditions change. And with this awareness that we've been cultivating of what we call non-self, we see the interdependence of everything. This is because that is. We see that everything has everything else in it. And impermanence teaches us to see the nature of non-self, the nature of the way in which everything is in me. You know, there's no place where I leave off and you begin. We're all connected. We're all influencing each other. There's a quote here. I've been reading some of Thich Nhat Hanh lately. He has a couple of great books. Maybe I'll just show you. One of them is this one. It's got a different cover now, The Heart of the Buddhist Teachings. And this one is called No Death, No Fear. Fabulous stuff. Anyway, he writes in this one, understanding impermanence can give us confidence, peace, and joy. Impermanence does not necessarily lead to suffering. Without impermanence, life could not be. Without impermanence, your daughter would not grow up into a beautiful young lady. Without impermanence, oppressive political regimes would never change. We think impermanence makes us suffer. But what makes us suffer is wanting things to be permanent when they are not. Oh, everything changes all the time. And impermanence teaches us to respect and value every moment and all that is so precious both within us and around us. You know, we're going through that here with the fire. It's like this land that we live on is the most precious thing to us. And we pack up the house and look around and go, okay, what do we really need? And that exercise, and I've been living with it for a week now, not for the first time either, but you know, it's potent to realize, you know, all of this that I think is so important it's actually not really all that necessary. I'd be sorry to lose it, but my friend Jay, my beloved friend Jay and his family lost their entire home in California in the fires outside of Santa Cruz. And I'm sure others of you, Jay, you're in Big Sur. And all of us who know people in California are horrified watching the destruction, especially those old trees. It makes me cry just to mention it. Anyway, the loss is unbearable, and we practice in order to be able to be with change and impermanence and to come to terms with it. This impermanence, with impermanence, transformation is possible. We can change suffering into joy. We can appreciate what is here and now and not be caught in something in the past or the future, anticipating or regretting. We naturally become more loving and more caring when we're in touch with the impermanent nature of what is, the preciousness, this precious human life we've been given. What do we do with it? How do we live? So nourishing this awareness of impermanence every day, it's part of our practice. To remember the view, to remember that death can come at any time, as we say in the opening verses. When we remember these things, we live more deeply, we suffer less, we enjoy more, and we touch that place that's beyond our ideas of permanence and impermanence. We touch the ground of our being. And from there, we can see that what we call being or non-being are just ideas. Sorry to say, because it's death to the little ego, the little part of us that wants it to be like this, That's a hard one. It's tough medicine to really let go. But when we do, then we can live a life of no regret, amazingly. Because we're fully present. We're not stuck in some idea or some agenda or some notion of permanence. So we often want to ignore death. We just want it to go away. We don't want to think about it. And under that is like, oh, no, that's not going to happen to me. But the practice of meditation really is about dying. It's about embracing the unknown. It's about opening to something so much larger. Ken Mcleod calls it the mystery of being. Ken Mcleod is a great teacher, by the way. Here's another book I'll show you. It's called Wake Up to Your Life. And it's a rich resource. He's a Dharma teacher that I studied with closely for a while. Anyway, the tendency is to take what's transitory, what we think of as real, like real important money, fame, power, relationships, our homes, the things that we hold on to and are attached to. And we base our lives on keeping those, grasping at what we want, rejecting what we don't want. And when we do that, it's like we give away our power to those things or those relationships or those external realities that our culture and society tell us is what we should be concerned about. But when we have awareness of impermanence, we learn to take nothing for granted. We're grateful for everything, every little thing, and we savor each moment because we know the next moment could be really different. And it's so beautiful. So to be free of the conditioning that our society and our culture and our families and our sense of privilege that's become such an issue for us to grapple with. Impermanence is an incredible contemplation. It's an incredible teacher to help us to wake up. And it brings us closer to life as it is happening in the moment, to the mystery of being, which is beyond conception. How's it going? Am I reaching across these screens and finding you? Beloved community. It feels to me like the times that we're living in are calling us so strongly to get this message. Because there is so little that we can hang on to anymore. There's so much uncertainty, so much change. And we need that change. I mean, I'm not so sure we need all the forests to be burned up. But we sure do need to wake up. And if that's what it takes, then, you know, here we are. So there's some traditional contemplations and meditations in the Buddhist tradition that relate to this. Everything changes. The death is inevitable. Death can come at any time. And actually contemplating one's own dying process and going through that. And it's actually all laid out step by step in this book. So if you're into really going into it and having some experiences with it, you can work with that book. But I thought I would, there's also a guided meditation that comes from Thich Nhat Hanh in this book that I thought I would start today's practice session with, and then we'll just keep going with our silence and walking and then further sitting. But this was a beautiful thing. I thought maybe I would just read this before starting with the opening verses. This is a lullaby. It comes from a sutra given to the dying that Thich Nhat Hanh turned into a song, and he thinks of it as a lullaby to sing to those who are nearing the end. And it goes like this. I won't sing it because I don't know what the song is, but it goes like this. This body is not me. I am not caught in this body. I am life without boundaries. I have never been born and I have never died. Over there, the wide ocean and the sky with many galaxies all manifests from the basis of consciousness. Since beginningless time, I have always been free. Birth and death are only a door through which we go in and out. Birth and death are only a game of hide and seek. So smile to me and take my hand and wave goodbye. Tomorrow we shall meet again, or even before. We shall always be meeting again at the true source, always meeting again on the myriad paths of life.